So it is Saturday, and that means it is housework day. And housework for me is something that I fucking hate so much. But it's a necessary evil. It takes me a really long time to do it. It does make it more interesting, though, when you've got interesting things in your house. And my latest acquisition is an 8 sleep pod. And I wanted to share that with you because the bed is actually got no shit on it right now, except for some sheets, and all of my bedding is on the floor. But I wanted to sort of run you through why I spent so much money getting one of these. These are thousands of dollars, and it looks very unsuspicious, right? Like there's nothing here that would make you think that this is a very expensive piece of bedding. But in fact, the bed itself is not the thing. It's just this overlay that I paid for and the thing that sits underneath. So I'm going to run you through what 8 Sleep is all about. So 8 Sleep is actually an app. And the 8 Sleep app, it allows me to look at a lot of biometric data about my sleep. And I have the app on my phone. But as part of the app, you need some hardware, such as this pod and this hub and all of the things that sit here. And you can look all this up. But this overlay, it literally has sensors in it all underneath. And then I got a base underneath. And this is the brains of the 8 Sleep pod. And it talks to all of that. And then when I wake up, I get like a full-on reading of my sleep, which is amazing, but it also lifts me up in the night as well. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So with a couple of taps on the side, I can just double tap this, and the bed makes a little sound, and it vibrates, and you can see that bed is starting to lift up. All right. So there are a lot of interesting features on here. So that'll lift up to different positions. I do have different positions that we can program through the app. But in the app, interestingly enough, this is where you can also control it. Down here, it gives me a full sleep analysis. So my sleep score last night was 84 out of 100. The other night, I actually got 100. What the fuck? But it reads my sleep, but it also reads mixed sleep. And what I like about this is it fucking tells me, oh, look, he slept all right, didn't he, cunt? It tells me how much he's fucking snored, doesn't it? So I'm not making this shit up. He snored for 26 minutes last night. And what the bed actually does is it makes adjustments based on your sleep. So it will actually lift the bed up if it detects snoring, which I think is super fucking interesting. It can detect outliers in your health, any sort of biometrics, gives you your resting heart rate, your heart rate variability, your respiratory rate, any disturbances that you've had, any cardio disturbances, because it reads all that. And it also gives you a full sleep analysis. So I also have an Oura Ring, and then that gives me data as well. And because I'm a weirdo and I love data a lot, I then check my Oura Ring data against my 8 Sleep data. I do actually have to charge my Oura Ring, which is the most annoying part about having an Oura Ring, which is like I like to have my 8 Sleep. Yes, I was doing I wasn't actually doing housework. I was actually singing and dancing in my house. But anyway, that's housework for some people. But you can have a look here at my sleep analysis. So it's very accurate, and they do cross-correlate, which I find quite interesting. It says that I do have a little bit of sleep debt. So I do get a little bit of different data through this. It did say I had a breathing disturbance, which I've been getting just in the last couple of weeks because of my bronchitis. But yeah, look, I like data. And as a coach, and a lot of coaches don't do this, but I actually practice what I preach. I'm talking to my clients. I'm fucking harping on about eating, breathing, sleep, movement, hydration, finding ways to track all this shit. And yes, this is a very expensive way of doing that. But I think people are very interested to see the kind of shit that I do because I don't have kids and I like to spend money and invest money on my health and well-being. Shit like this ends up being in my possession. It also has a vibration alarm. It can wake you up through temperature, which is my favorite part of this. It can wake you up with like a nice little sound. It has a speaker in it. But we're talking over $10,000 for something like this. Lucky for me, I acquired it secondhand on Marketplace, but that's another story. But I wanted to share that because an average day of housework here isn't an average day. In fact, it involves us doing lots of work on our computers in between doing housework, and Mick learning music. He is at the table in his underwear currently, running through songs for a gig tonight. But while I was doing it, I thought it was worth sharing that. I hope that you found that super enjoyable. Obviously, you don't need expensive tracking stuff either to track your sleep. You can start with something basic. Even something like a watch, a smartwatch, can give you some information on your sleep. There are other items, and I have one in the other room. There are sleep analyzers. They're little pads that slip under your bed. At the end of the day, the biggest problem with sleep is it's a very subjective experience for the majority of the population. They wake up and they go, I feel tired. I feel like I didn't get sleep. And so the reality as a coach is that how can we improve on that other than subjective quantification? We would need some objective data, and this is where these sorts of devices, which are actually quite accessible these days, they're not that expensive. A sleep analyzer pad is under $200. I think even on sale, they're under $150. That can just give you some baseline data, and then we can decide to improve. So if you are tracking your sleep, I'd love to know what devices you are using, because I'm always open to hearing more and more things. And for the record, yes, I did eventually make my bed.